The cool, crisp air of an Oregon morning always smelled the same to me, a mix of damp earth, pine needles, and the faint metallic tang of old ambition. It was the scent of home, and the scent of my life as Coach Sam, age 40, heading up the high school cross-country team. My days started before dawn, lacing up my worn running shoes, not to run myself anymore, not really, but to scout routes, check trails for hazards, and sometimes, just sometimes, to feel that quiet connection to the ground underfoot that I remembered from my own racing days. Then it was a quick breakfast, a school bus filled with teenagers who mostly grumbled but secretly loved the early morning runs, and then a full day of teaching history before looping back to practice. It was a good life, a simple life, focused on these kids and the rhythm of their pounding feet on the trails. My dream really wasn't for myself anymore. It was for them. For these kids to feel the wind in their hair, the burn in their lungs, and the incredible satisfaction of pushing past what they thought was possible. Our high school, tucked away in a small, struggling town in the foothills, didn't have much. Our uniforms were faded, our running shoes often held together with hope and duct tape, and our ancient school bus, affectionately known as the lumbering beast, seemed to groan a little louder with every mile. I worked hard, often picking up shifts at the local hardware store on weekends, just to keep a little extra money in my pocket, and if I was honest, to contribute to the unofficial team fund I kept hidden from the school district's watchful, budget-cutting eyes. My quiet struggle, my internal nemesis, was the fear that all of it, all my effort and the kids' dedication, wouldn't be enough. The doubt gnawed at me, telling me I wasn't strong enough to protect this small, vital thing we had built. The weight of the world truly settled on my shoulders when the whispers turned into official announcements. The school board, facing severe budget shortfalls, was considering cutting non-essential programs. Cross-country, despite its proven benefits for physical and mental health, was on that list. It wasn't just my job, it was the bedrock for so many of these kids. For some, it was the only stable thing in their lives, a place where they belonged, where they learned discipline and resilience. The thought of telling them that their season, their passion, might be over before it even truly began, twisted my stomach into knots. I felt a cold dread, a feeling that I was failing them before I'd even had a chance to fight. I knew I couldn't just stand by. I launched into action, a desperate one-man campaign to save our program. I organized bake sales that barely broke even, car washes that earned less than minimum wage, and wrote petitions that collected signatures but seemed to gather dust in the principal's office. I talked to every parent, every local business owner, every school board member I could corner. I even started taking extra shifts at the lumber mill on top of the hardware store, the heavy lifting leaving my muscles aching. But the exhaustion was a small price if it meant buying new shoes or proper first aid supplies for the team. I pushed my runners harder, too, asking them to dig deep, hoping that a stellar performance at the upcoming district meet would be undeniable proof of our program's worth. But the setbacks came one after another, like a relentless uphill climb in a steady rain. Our star runner, Maria, twisted her ankle badly during a practice run, taking her out for the rest of the season. Her parents, stretched thin themselves, couldn't afford a specialist, and our limited school funds could only cover basic physical therapy. Our fundraising efforts continued to sputter. The town itself was struggling, and asking for donations felt like asking for blood from a stone. I remember standing before the school board, presenting my carefully prepared arguments, my voice cracking with emotion, only to be met with sympathetic but firm nods. "Coach Sam," the board president had said gently, "we understand, but the budget simply won't allow for it. Cuts have to be made." My lowest point arrived a week before the district meet, the one chance we had left to prove ourselves. We were supposed to travel 3 hours east through the mountains to a course known for its challenging terrain. I was feeling a glimmer of hope because, despite Maria's absence, the team had rallied, pushing themselves to new limits. Then the lumbering beast, our ancient bus, decided it had finally given up. It sputtered, coughed, and died in the school parking lot after practice, a plume of thick, acrid smoke rising from its engine. The mechanic's estimate was exorbitant, far beyond anything the school or my meager hidden fund could cover. There was no other transport, no backup. We were stranded. I sat there in the empty parking lot, the setting sun casting long, desolate shadows. The bus, silent and broken, loomed like a tombstone over my hopes. I felt the utter defeat seep into my bones, a cold, heavy ache. All the late nights, all the extra shifts, all the emotional investment in these kids, it all felt pointless. My internal nemesis, that voice of doubt, screamed in my head. "You failed, Sam. You weren't good enough. Just give up. Call the principal. Tell them it's over." I even pulled out my phone, my thumb hovering over the principal's number, ready to admit defeat, to tell him that the cross-country program, my passion, was finished. I felt completely alone, abandoned by hope. Just as my thumb began to press the call button, a beat-up pickup truck pulled into the parking lot, its headlights cutting through the growing dusk. It was Coach Miller from Northwood High, one of our biggest rivals. Miller was a good man, but our teams were fiercely competitive. He emerged from his truck, a wrench in his hand, a knowing look on his face. "Heard you had some trouble, Sam," he said, his voice quiet. "One of my parents knows your mechanic, said the old beast finally gave out." I just nodded, too tired to speak. Miller walked over to the bus, peered into the open engine compartment. "Looks like a fuel pump," he mused. "Happened to my bus last year. Got a spare in my garage, and my buddy down at the auto shop owes me a favor. We can get this fixed." And he added, looking at me, "My team's driving up tomorrow afternoon anyway. We've got plenty of room in our bus for your kids if we can't get this one running in time for the early start." His words hit me like a splash of cold water, then a wave of warmth. A rival offering help, no strings attached. It wasn't just the offer of a ride or a repair. It was an act of profound, unexpected kindness that shattered my despair. He wasn't doing it to win points or gain an advantage. He was doing it because it was the right thing to do. That night, with Miller's help and his mechanic friend, the lumbering beast roared back to life, wheezing a little but ready for the journey. The next day, as our teams lined up at the district meet, the air thick with anticipation, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We weren't just running for ourselves or for the program anymore. We were running with the knowledge that even in competition, there was connection, shared humanity. The race started, a blur of motion and color. Halfway through the final loop, I watched as something incredible unfolded. Bethany, a runner from Jefferson High, stumbled, then collapsed 100 yards from the finish line. She lay there, clearly in distress, tears of frustration mixing with the sweat on her face. My heart sank for her. Then I saw it. My own runners, led by our team captain, Ethan, were nearing her. Without a word, they slowed, then stopped. Not just my team, but runners from Northwood, and even a few from other schools, paused their own races. Ethan knelt beside Bethany, offering a hand. Others gathered around, helping her to her feet, supporting her on either side. Together, a mix of uniforms, they walked her slowly and deliberately across the finish line. Not a single one of them cared about their own finishing time. They cared about helping a fellow runner. The cheers from the crowd were deafening, a wave of emotion I hadn't felt in years. That moment, that selfless act, wasn't just about finishing a race. It was about defining what it truly meant to be a runner, what it truly meant to be human. It was the climax of everything I believed in, a profound testament to the character of these kids. This was the leap of faith I needed, the proof that what we were doing mattered beyond numbers and budgets. The story of the cross-country team's sportsmanship spread like wildfire. Local newspapers picked it up, then regional news, and eventually a national sports blog featured it. The school board, inundated with calls and letters praising the team's actions, and seeing the unexpected outpouring of community support, had a change of heart. The cross-country program was not only saved, but a small, anonymous donation, later revealed to be from Coach Miller's school district, even came through, specifically earmarked for new equipment and uniforms. My new normal was still early mornings and late nights, but the exhaustion was replaced by a deep well of satisfaction. I still coached, but with a renewed energy, knowing that the greatest victories weren't measured in medals, but in the character we built. I found myself paying it forward, offering advice to younger coaches, lending a hand to struggling teams, and ensuring my own runners always remembered the importance of compassion on and off the course. And a small but significant change, I started running again myself. Not competitively, but for the sheer joy of it, finding my own peace in the rhythmic pounding of my feet on the dirt trails. The old lumbering beast, patched up and surprisingly reliable, became a symbol of our resilience, a reminder that even broken things can find new life with a little help and a lot of heart. Years later, a package arrived in the mail. Inside was a framed photo of a woman mid-stride, racing a marathon, a fierce but joyful expression on her face. It was Bethany, the runner my team had helped across the finish line all those years ago. The accompanying letter was short and heartfelt. "Coach Sam," it read, "I never forgot that day. Your team and what you taught them changed my life. You showed me that even when you fall, there's always someone there to help you finish. Thank you for teaching me what perseverance truly means, and that the finish line isn't just about speed, but about spirit." Attached to the photo was a smaller, older picture, a faded image of my team, a mix of uniforms walking together, supporting a struggling runner. It was a small twist of fate, a poignant reminder that kindness echoes through time, proving without a shadow of a doubt that things truly do get better.